takeaway tonight and I am so full. Hi guys, it's Kat. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do another story time for you, and this time I thought I would do a story time about the time that I got detention. Funny story, I've actually already recorded this video. I recorded it some time ago and I recorded it on my iPhone 7, and then when I was looking back over the video before uploading it, I realised that the quality is so bad. So here I am again telling this story once more. However, for you it will be the first time that you're actually hearing this story. So if you watched my story time about there being a monkey in my room, you'll know that I used to live in Egypt for a period of time, and this story time is when I was living in Egypt. So my dad had put me to this private school. It was one that the expats sent their kids to. My dad put me to this school because they taught in English and I didn't know any Arabic. I had asked my dad to teach me Arabic because, you know, I'm going to be living in Egypt. Obviously I'm going to need to be able to speak the language. But because our family are Egyptian Armenian, and our family are really proud of the Armenian heritage and the Armenian culture, I was told that I had to learn Armenian first, and then once I'd learned Armenian they would teach me Arabic. Which, fine, fair enough, but obviously it takes some time to learn a language. You're not going to learn it overnight. Meanwhile, I still need to be able to speak the language or understand the language of a city that I'm living in. But that wasn't to be, so I didn't understand any Arabic and therefore would need to go to a school that taught in English, hence why I went to a private school. So even though my dad paid the school to teach in English, they taught in Arabic, and it made it really, really difficult for me to be able to understand the lesson. I struggled to follow. I would try and look at the textbooks, which were in English, and like look down the page, but we would start at one point of the page and then all of a sudden we were like 5 pages forward, and then we were like 4 pages back, and I struggled to keep up. And because they were teaching in Arabic and I didn't understand, and because I was struggling to keep up, my grades started to suffer, and my dad was really disappointed that my grades were slipping, but there wasn't really much that I could do about it. He said to me, "Why are your grades slipping? Your mum said your grades used to be good back in the UK. All of a sudden now they're terrible. What has happened?" And I explained to him I really struggle to understand the teacher because she's speaking in Arabic, and so it's hard for me to keep up with what point of the textbook we're in during the lesson, because I don't know what's being taught, because it's being taught in Arabic. I then don't know the course content, so when I'm asked questions on it I can't answer those questions, and hence I'm falling behind and struggling. And my dad got really angry, and he's like, "No, I pay them to teach you in English." So he said that he would speak to the school and that he would make sure they taught me in English from then on. Well, after that the teacher would come into the class and she'd introduce herself in English and then slip straight into Arabic for the entire lesson. So my dad's conversation with the school wasn't very effective at all, and I still had the same set of problems, but I didn't want to tell my dad because he would get like really angry and I didn't want him to be angry. So I didn't say anything. I had this friend in school called, I can't really say her real name, let's call her Sarah, because that is quite similar to what her name was but isn't her name. So Sarah and I, we were friends, and we had an agreement whereby at the end of the lesson she would tell me which parts of the textbook I had to study that night, because those were the parts that had been covered in the lesson that day, and if we had any homework then she would tell us, or she would tell me rather, us, there's more than one me. She would tell me if there was any homework, and so that was fine. For a while we went along like that. She would tell me what pages of the textbook to study from, and if there was homework she'd say there was homework, and so forth and so on. So this one particular day, and I don't know what happened to change the dynamic of our friendship or why this happened, I don't know. But anyway, this one particular day the teacher, as normal, taught the lesson in Arabic and then she left. And then a short while after she left, she came back to the classroom, popped her head through the door and addressed the whole class, and everybody like stopped and paid attention to what she was saying. including myself. But of course she spoke in Arabic, so I don't know what she's saying. And I turned to my friend Sarah and I say, what was it that she said? What did she tell us? And Sarah's like, no, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's nothing important. You don't need to stress over it. It's nothing. And I was like, well, I feel like I need to know what it was she said, because it looked like she was addressing the entire class, and I'm part of this class too, so I feel like I need to be privy to this information. And she's like, no, seriously, honestly, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. I was like, okay, so we don't have any homework? And she's like, no, we don't have any homework. That's not what she came in to tell us. No. She wasn't telling us that we had homework, no. I was like, okay. She's like, seriously, stop stressing about what the teacher said, just let it go. I was like, okay, fine, I'll let it go. So the next day, I'm in this teacher's class. She introduces herself as usual, like she normally does in the morning, and then she tells us to hand our homework in at the front. Homework? What? We didn't have homework. Sarah told me we didn't have homework. Why is she asking for homework? What? So I go to raise my hand and to explain to the teacher that I haven't done my homework and explain why that I was told that we didn't have any homework. And the teacher gets really angry and she says, before anybody even gives me their excuses for why they haven't done their homework, I'm really not interested. I don't want to hear it. I just want you to stand up right now in class. Just stand up. And I was like, oh boy, this does not look good. So I stood up in class. There was myself and there was a group of boys that stood up. Now these boys were the same boys that were always forgetting to do their homework. Every single time there was homework to be done, they wouldn't do it. And I think really the teacher was just sick and fed up of like them not doing their homework and their excuses. And I was just unfortunate to have not done my homework that day. But it wasn't my fault I didn't do my homework, because I didn't know we had any, because I was told that we didn't have any. And the teacher taught in Arabic and spoke in Arabic, and maybe if she told me in English I would have known, but anyway. So I have to stand up in the middle of the class, and there's me and there's all these boys. And the teacher starts yelling at us, and then she sends us, okay, you're not going to believe this, she sends us to the naughty corner. Like, I kid you not, we actually get sent to the naughty corner. At this point in my life, I'm about 13 years old and there's still a naughty corner. So we all get sent to the naughty corner in the classroom and we have to stand for the remainder of the lesson with our backs turned to the rest of our class. It was so humiliating in front of all my work friends? I'm getting confused. In front of all my school friends, I have to stand there with my back to the class being punished for not doing my homework. I was so humiliated, and I kept telling myself, it's okay, it's fine, don't worry about it, like, we'll get through this, just, it's not the end of the world, you know, it could be worse. Famous last words, it could be worse. It got worse. So after the lesson was finished and I thought like that was the end of my personal hell, no, the teacher then tells us that we have to go stand in the hallway. So we go stand in the hallway and she goes and gets the principal, the assistant head teacher. She goes and gets the assistant head teacher, and the assistant head teacher starts absolutely hammering into us and yelling at us, telling us we're a disappointment to ourselves, we're a disappointment to the school, we've let our parents down, we've let school down, we've let society down, we've let mankind down, we're the reason the world, you know, is just in disarray, we're the reason that dinosaurs are extinct, like... Okay, obviously that's an exaggeration, but she really like lay into us for not doing our homework. And I was so embarrassed and humiliated. Like, just to give you a bit of perspective, I always behaved myself. I always did as I was told. I was always like a goody two-shoes. And so I never got in trouble like with teachers. I never got in trouble at school. And suddenly to be getting in trouble like to this extent was just, it was a nightmare for me. So anyway, this assistant head teacher, she's shouting so loudly that the classroom next door, who are in the middle of a maths exam, they actually have to stop their maths exam because they can't concentrate. Like, this teacher shouting at us is distracting them. So they have to abort their exam. And the next thing is they open the classroom door and the entire classroom come out and stand and watch us getting yelled at. So first I have to stand up in class in front of all my classmates and That was humiliating. Then I have to stand with my back to them for the entire lesson as punishment, and that was humiliating. Then I get yelled at in the hallway, again humiliating, to the point that the classroom next door have to abort their exam, humiliating, and then come and watch me getting told off, humiliating. And to top it all off, there was a boy in that classroom that I quite fancied, and he was stood there at the door watching me getting told off for not doing my homework. Yeah, I think you can guess what I'm gonna say. Humiliating. I kept telling myself it's okay, like it's gonna be fine, this will end, you know, it will be over with soon. It could be worse. I really didn't learn my lesson because it got worse. It got worse. The teacher then gave us detention slips, and she said, yeah, so I got detention. Like, wait, little Miss Goody Two Shoes always does as she's told, gets detention. So I get detention, and the teacher says that I have to have my dad sign this detention note. I was hoping that I could have avoided letting my dad know that I got into trouble for not doing my homework, and that, you know, this could have slipped under the radar. And now I have to like get him to sign my detention note, so he's gonna find out. Like, could this day get any worse? What? So anyway, let's fast forward. It's much later in the day. Finally being told off has come to an end, and I'm waiting for my dad to come pick me up from school. And I see Sarah walk past me in the corridor, and I'm thinking this is really weird because Sarah normally leaves very promptly after school finishes, whereas I always have to stay behind because I have to wait for my dad to come pick me up, and he's not always free to come get me from work straight away. And so I say, hey Sarah, what are you doing here so late? And Sarah comes up to me and she said, oh, I had to go see the teacher. See, I forgot to do my homework. She forgot to do her homework? Wait. So first of all, this girl refuses to tell me that we had homework to do. Like, what is up with that, by the way? Thanks for that. And then she tells me that she forgot to do her homework. And I say to her, but you couldn't have forgotten to do your homework because you weren't stood there in class when the teacher told us to stand up. And you didn't have to stand with your back to the class. And you weren't there in the corridor getting yelled at by the assistant head teacher. And you didn't get the detention slip. So how on earth can you explain to me how it is you managed to have not done your homework because you weren't there at any of those points in time? And she said, oh yeah, I was a bit scared to admit that I hadn't done my homework, and so I didn't stand up when the teacher told us to. I didn't. I was like, but surely the teacher would have noticed that you didn't hand your homework in. And she's like, no, she didn't notice. She goes, so I went to see the teacher after school to explain that I hadn't done my homework. And I was like, oh man, I bet you're like, she gave you in so much trouble. What did she say? What did she do? And she goes, yeah, she told me it was fine, just to bring it in tomorrow, no problems. What? I'm sorry, but I'm struggling to comprehend this right now. I'm a first-time offender of not doing my homework, and yet I get humiliated. I get shown no mercy, no forgiveness, no grace, not interested in hearing an explanation as to why I haven't done my homework. This is really out of character, but no, like, not interested. I get absolutely yelled at and told off, and all the while my friend hasn't done her homework, hasn't owned up to the fact that she hasn't done her homework, and quietly sneaks off to see the teacher after class, and the teacher tells her, yeah, it's totally cool man, just bring it in tomorrow. What? I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't believe it. I was raging. I was pure raging. So safe to say that my friendship with Sarah ended after that. I couldn't trust her anymore. She knew that we had homework to do and didn't tell me despite me asking her. She never gave me an explanation as to why she didn't tell me that we had homework to do. and the trust was gone. Like, I couldn't trust her anymore. I don't know what happened with us that made her turn on me like that, but I was so mad that the way they behaved towards me for forgetting to do my homework was so extreme, but yet the way they behaved towards her for forgetting to do her homework, and she didn't even admit to it. Like, at least I owned my misgivings, but she didn't even admit to it, and then they were totally okay with it. Like, I just thought that was double standards, and I was really annoyed. So of course I now have the horrible moment where I'm in the car and I have to tell my dad I got detention. And my dad is really angry, and he's like, how have you managed to get detention? And I said I got detention because I didn't do my homework. And then he's like, well, why didn't you do your homework? And I was like, because I didn't know that I had homework to do, because they were teaching in Arabic. And he's like, I've already spoken to them about this. I've already been up there and talked to them about this. And I was like, yes, Dad, but it didn't make a difference. The only thing that happened after you spoke to them was the teacher now addresses the class and introduces herself in English and then continues the lesson in Arabic. And my dad was so mad to find out that things hadn't changed, and that he was still paying them to teach me in English and they were still continuing to teach me in Arabic. And then now I'd gotten detention for this. Like, my dad was, he was on the warpath. So my dad gave the school a telling off, and it went from my dad not being happy with the school to the school not being happy with me. And after that they continued to pick on me for anything and everything, just pull me aside any opportunity they could get, and I was just getting so fed up. Anyway, as a result of the school continuously picking on me for like basically nothing, just because they had a vendetta against me, because they were annoyed with me, because my dad was annoyed with them for not doing what they're supposed to do, I ended up becoming a bit of a rebel. So that's a story of how I got detention, and I can't believe that my friend stabbed me in the back like that. I can't believe that she betrayed me like that. I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why she did it. But hey, it is what it is. At least I've got this cool story to tell. So anyway, I'm going to end the video here, and I hope you enjoyed my story time for today. Bye!